Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David Allen, or if you like, Super Dave. Today we are here to talk about 105 Shockwave. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Hello, Michael Gene Fleming. Thank you for joining us today. Shockwave is a cool figure. It's a figure that we thought was coming sooner than it was because there was a lot of parts over the last 105 classified figures and 12 retro figures that we thought, oh wow, that's an easy piece to make Shockwave. So way back when they were doing characters like Gung Ho and Beachhead and other characters, we're like, well, why haven't you done Shockwave? That's a fairly easy figure to do. You have all the parts and stuff. So they don't always make the figures that we think they should make based on the parts that are available, because sometimes those parts are being used for another figure. Sometimes the molds are being used in other ways, and so on and so forth. So they have to schedule all that in the process of making a new figure and getting it lined up and packaging and weapons and accessories and paint decos and this and that. And so that's why we don't always get the characters that we think should be coming until later than we think they should be. Like Shockwave is a perfect example. Yeah, we thought he was coming a lot earlier, I should say, but they just got to him at 105, so I guess that's what we got to deal with sometimes. Like, there are parts and there are characters that I think they could do right now. They have all the parts, all the gear, everything to make this figure, and I don't understand why the figure hasn't come out yet. And that's like character like Hardball. Everything's there. They have the buck for the jersey with bazooka. They have the hat. It came with crazy legs. They have plenty of different fatigued legs. They have that big Gatling gun. That's his weapon. Make a new head. Voila! You have uh, a hardball figure. Just color the skin a little bit different, and there you go. And they already have that capability. There are African American heads and skin tones in different figures with like the Televiper and the green shirt and other things that have come out where they have the African American mold. So I don't know why it's taken them this long to do Hardball, but it is what it is. And there's other characters that we've seen accessories, and we've seen things that were like, oh, that's going to be part of this character, that's going to be part of that character. That so they're future proofing the line by having all these bits and parts. One perfect example is when they did the first Beachhead back in, like, I think it was like the 7th or 8th figure Beachhead. He had that I guess you would call it that longshoreman type shirt underneath his secondary, and it was green. But it was like, oh, okay, they have that shirt. That means we're going to probably get somebody else that's going to use that. They ended up using it on the steel core under his secondary, but I always thought that's the perfect type of a shirt for a longshoreman shipwreck. And we never got the longshoreman shipwreck. We got the regular shipwreck. And so I think that's one of those things that we have parts, we have things, but they have to line everything up in order to get the right figure and the right use out of those parts. It is what it is. So it's one of those fascinating things if you are one of those collectors that follow the parts and follow the equipment and follow the bucks and the molds and stuff. There are collectors that do that can tell you, oh, that was used on that character and that was used on that character and so on and so forth. I can see it a little bit myself. I'm not like an expert at it. I've been wrong on certain things, but certain things I keep an eye out for because I'm like, wait a minute, that could be used for this, that could be used for that, and certain characters that I'm looking for. Hardball is one of those characters that I'm looking for, and Longshoreman Shipwreck is another one of those characters I'm looking for. Um, Another character you can say we've gotten a lot of the parts for this character early on was Wetsuit. We ended up with several different diver bodies, 3 or 4 diver figures that came out prior to Wetsuit being offered up in the wave during San Diego Comic-Con this past year. And we got different fins that came with him that we knew were going to be used for other characters, and so on and so forth. So it just keeps perpetuating the gear parts and molds as we get further and further down into this deeper and deeper into the line. So that's my little tangent on that. But Shockwave. So let's go into a little bit of history of Shockwave. First off, we're going to go to Dan Klingensmith's series of books, and that is number 12. Creating G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 12 by Dan Klingensmith. So Shockwave, let's get to Shockwave. I had him set aside, and then because I pulled him out, I lost him. So there is your Shockwave. And hopefully the lighting is good. Michael Gene Fleming, let me know if the lighting is good in this. So there's your render there and your turnarounds, and there's some other artwork over there and stuff like that for his equipment and his shield, his riot shield, and so on and so forth. So let's see what Dan had to say about this. Alternate names: NA, year release 1988, designed by Mark Pennington, a new name in our design team. We have not yet used Mark Pennington, and he took over from Ron Rudat in about 87 and worked till 89, and he did a ton of new designs and characters. Mark Pennington's a really cool guy. I've met and interviewed him as well. Says, after visiting a Rhode Island SWAT unit, Mark created the character Shockwave. Originally, he designed Shockwave in light gray urban camouflage that resembled bricks and was supposed to help him blend into buildings and other structures when fighting cobras. All right, so they changed him from the gray to a blue deco, and he has that digital camo on there as well. That's really cool. He was a standout figure when he came out on the peg hooks. When you saw him, you're like, holy cow, that's really cool looking. And it's like one of those figures that when you see a whole bunch on the peg hooks, you're like, oh wow, and you grab that one. And he was one of those figures, for me anyway, kind of like the barbecue and the blowtorch, where they stood out. They're like attracts you to him. So then we're going to go to Carson Metaxas series of books. Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe, Volume 4 by Carson A. Metaxas and 3D Joes. So let's get to Shockwave's vintage package. Let's see, Shockwave. I think Shockwave. Oh, I skipped over Shockwave. Let's see. No. There he is. There's your vintage Shockwave. There. Looks really cool. SWAT specialist. So G.I. Joe was getting into different different kinds of expertise. That's one of the things that was unique about the line. It was the best of the best, all the best people in any given field. And they had firefighters, they had police officers, they had bazooka troopers, they had, commandos, spies, ninjas, officers, different types of weaponry specialists and stuff like that, heavy gunners and things like that. Hello, Clement. Thank you for joining the chat this morning. We're talking Shockwave. So then Shockwave got his first appearance in Special Missions number 22, one of the rare first appearances that was in Special Missions. But Shockwave had an interesting story in here. It was a one-off type story, had to do with a airport being taken over by some terrorists, and he was nearby, and he helped them free the terrorists, the captives from the airport. So that was an interesting story. Shockwave never got any animation appearances to my knowledge. He was in that gap between the movie, the 1987 movie that had some characters, the Rawhides, and then when they did Operation Dragonfire, they brought in the characters from 89 and 90 and so on. But there was a gap there from about 80, I would say 87 to 89, where a lot of figures and characters did not get used. And Shockwave was one of those characters in that time frame. So he does not have any animation to my knowledge. I don't know if there was any commercial animation with Shockwave or not. There were a lot of commercials that had animation, and I don't recall him being in any of them, but I don't have all the commercials memorized, so I can't tell you. I know a lot of them were like large play sets or groups of characters like Tiger Force, Python Patrol, like the Crusader Shuttle, the Thunderclap, things like that. Sergeant Slaughter, the Fridge, like different factions that had groups that could be advertised, big vehicles like the Bug and that type of stuff. I know all of those types of things got animated advertisements, but I'm not sure if any had Shockwave in there. So then we're going to go into Shockwave's vintage figure, and here he is. So let's see. So he's a little bit loose, so I may have to replace his O-ring and tighten him up a little bit. But yeah, he's got a little bit of yellow on him, a little blue with that digital camo, and he does not want to stand up, even though I'm holding him straight. There you go. Like I said, he was a standout character, similar to like Gung Ho, that kind of stood out amongst a line of figures. And as we're going on with the G.I. Joe in the 80s, they got a little bit brighter with the color schemes as they got farther and further from the vintage OG-13, and they added more colors to the line. Do I have Funko Pops? Yeah, I have some G.I. Joe Funko Pops, and I have a couple odd Funko Pops, like of things that I like that are my favorite things, like my favorite Marvel character is Spider-Man, so I have a Spider-Man one. My favorite DC character is Aquaman, so I have an Aquaman Funko Pop, Clement. So I do have some Funko Pops. I have maybe 50 Funko Pops, but not a lot, not that many. The company Funko Pop is in big trouble right now. They had a very bad year. They were down 14% this year. And so they said next year might be their last year. So I'm very surprised about that because there's so much Funko Pops out there in the market. I'm a little surprised. So there's Shockwave. Let's get a little of his gear on. So we'll put his backpack. He's got a big chunky backpack. That's the one thing about these back in the day. They had a lot of chunky backpacks in G.I. Joe. So then he has his gun. It looks like this gun is like a Firefly gun. It looks very similar to Firefly's gun. There. So there, and then he has a pistol. The vintage ones didn't have holsters to put these pistols in, so that was one of the interesting things about them. All right, so there's Shockwave with his pistol, his rifle, and his backpack. All of his gear on him. There you go. So I don't know if he's going to stand up. So I'm going to put him back in his little container because it doesn't look like he's going to stand. He's very wobbly. I'm going to have to probably replace his O-ring. He does have a little bit of knife in here too that I think goes on the side of his backpack, this little knife. There's a little thing on the side of his backpack that holds a blade of some sort. So I'm guessing that goes in there like that. So you put that blade in there like that. So I'm going to put him back in his package. There. We'll put him over there. So let's get to Shockwave. So we have 105, like I said. And you can see, look at those eyes. That's one of my favorite parts is looking at these eyes. When you have a balaclava head or a masked head, how they get the detail and the realism. And you can see he's intent on kicking down some doors and getting some drug dealers and finding where Cobra is and dealing with them in a very quick manner. So then we have the target artwork with a QR code to nowhere. And then we have the render on the back, and we have a couple call outs on there on his helmet and on the side of his arm there. And we have all the render with the equipment and everything. And he comes with quite a lot of equipment there. So then we have the designations. Let's go into the designations. We'll see if they are all in here. Because sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. So he has the lightning bolt. So the lightning bolt, I believe, is Vanguard. So I've realized Vanguard is like a forward soldier, like they're the front lines of battle. That's why the Steel Corps had that. That's why people like Grunt had it. And now Shockwave has it because he's one of the forward front facing forces against whatever adversary they're going up against. He's first. He's in the front. So that's what that lightning is. And then he has the 3 bullets, which I think is light weapons. Yep, the 3 bullets is light weapons. He has the chess piece with the horse chess piece, which we don't have that. I think that's some sort of strategy or tactician or something like that, but I don't have that on the my render sheets here. And then he has the city shield, which is the environmental specialist Urban. So he's like a figure that would go up against, say, like the Alley Vipers, because he's a city type force character. So he would go up against drug people, and that's why he was part of DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and stuff like that. So he would be the opposite of a Alley Viper. So then we have his photography artwork by Shooting the Galaxy. And this is a weird piece of artwork here. So we got the little painted artwork there on the side. Then we got the render of the equipment again. But he's on a beach. And so I don't understand Oh, okay, Clement, that's cool. You got Tasmanian Devil and the Reaper. Funko Pops, I guess. Um, I don't understand why he's in a beach. Why that's a weird thing for urban soldier or urban force to be on the beach of someplace like that. So I don't understand this photography by shooting the galaxy. He should have been in more of a cityscape. And I know that they have cityscapes because we've seen it in plenty of packages. So why didn't they put Shockwave in a cityscape? I don't know. That's a puzzle. That's a bit of a puzzle and a mystery to me that I guess one of these days we'll have to figure out. I'm guessing they didn't have that available. They were using it for maybe Marvel Legends or something else, and they couldn't do it. I just don't get it. Um, so there are no. There's a train back there. There's a cool train back there. That might be a call out to the GI Joe train that was never produced. That was cool. That's a an obscure reference. Not a lot of people are aware of that, but there was going to be a GI Joe train in the '90s that got costed out, and they never did it. Um, if you read Dan Klingon-Smith's series of books, issue 14 and 15, unproduced stuff and things that were close to being produced, the train is in there, so you could check that out. That's one of the best things about his series of books, not only the history of the characters and how the characters came about and the behind the scenes of a character. There's tons of stuff that was never produced, characters that were almost going to be in the line, but for whatever reason they got costed out, and then all kinds of toy concepts, vehicles, and this and that, and the train is one of those concepts. I love it. It's a fantastic. Now that would be a HasLab. You think they would make the train set? Boy, that would be something. I don't think they will, but you never know. So that's a problem with Shockwave. I don't care for that. There's no other sneak peeks on here that I can see on this. Um, and it's Jason Shockwave Ferraria, I guess. So let's get him opened up. Again, first time we're opening all these figures up. We started with double Snake Eyes 0, and we are now up to 105. We've done 13 vintage package figures. So now we are on 105, Shockwave, Stars and Stripes. There he is, Jason Shockwave Ferraria. There you go. And then we'll put his package down there. Michael Gene Fleming. Let's see. It's possible, but not certain that Shockwave's and Helix's backgrounds got swapped. Hers has a SWAT van on it, but that could be reference to one comic miniseries she was in. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good theory on that, Michael G. Fleming, because you're right. She was in an urban setting, and she's more of a spy. That's a more of an infiltration type of a character, and he's more of a urban character. And having him on the beach, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. It is what it is. Nothing I can do about it now. But maybe we can ask Shooting the Galaxy sometimes if we get a interview with them at some point. If Matt, if you're ever watching these videos and you see this, I would like to do an interview to talk to you about the photography, artwork, and all the cool photography that you guys do for these figures in this line. It's fantastic, and I think it's awesome. I don't have a lot of the current Hasbro people contacts for those interviews. People like Full Force and Toy Kind of Mood. They can get those people. I don't know how they do it. I don't have their contacts. I would love to interview Lenny and Tony and Emily and BMAC and Shooting the Galaxy and people at Hasbro. If you guys are watching this and you happen to see this and you would be open to doing that, I would love to get you on my channel and talk to you about classified in the G.I. Joe brand. I love it, and I think you're doing a fantastic job. So just an open door. So there's Shockwave, and there's this artwork in this interior package. Put that over there. So right off the bat, just taking him out of the package, he looks very much like his vintage figure. Very much like his vintage figure. He's got the yellow, the blue, digital camo. There might be a little bit more darker blue on him than there is the lighter blue. I'm not sure. Just looking at him, he's got a lot more like gauntlets. He's got these two arm gauntlets, these two leg holsters that take up a lot of space. He's got a secondary belt holster there. The secondary has a knife sheath on it. He's got a leg, some leg shin guards there, and there's a secondary knife, another secondary something can go in there. I'm not sure what. He's a little stiff, so I'm like trying to turn his calf, and I'm trying not to break him out of the package here, but his calf doesn't really want to twist because he's at a weird angle. He's a bit of a weird angle there. So there you go. Shockwave. He's got some deco in him with that yellow bits of deco, and he's got that little chevron, that little light chevron. I would like to find out what those are. There's a lot of characters that have those on their secondaries. We've seen it like 10 or 15 times in the line thus far. I would like to figure out what those are. Dave, can you show gorillas? Gorillas? I don't have any gorillas. Clement, I'm sorry. I don't have any gorillas. I apologize for that, but I don't have any. So there's he's got a bit of deco in that that ammunition there on his front, and like I said, that little blue light looking thing that's on his shoulder there. It's got a little blue deco. Then he's got black gloves with the flesh fingers, and there's that face that was on the package there. Let's see if you guys can get a good view of that face through his balaclava. Overall, I think he's out of the package, he's pretty good, other than I can't really move that calf. I'm going to have to put some heat on that so I can move that a little bit because I want that leg to be a little bit the other way. This calf is the other direction. So both of these calves are in weird positions they're stuck in because of the glue and the paint. But I'll fiddle with it and we'll see if we can move them around a little bit. But yeah, I like that. The secondary has some black, like puffy type material, like bulletproof material. I don't have any gorillas, Clement. I don't have any gorillas. Sorry. I like they gave the armor a little bit of detail, like it's more of a tactical armor and stuff like that on those knee shins pads there. And the same with the wrist ones as well. There's a little detail there that I really like. I like the puffy collar on this, and I like all the pouches and all the extra pouches on his belt and stuff. So there's a lot of really cool detail in this. All right, let's get into some of his accessories on this one. So we got his weapons crate, and of course we have his bag with all of his gear, Cobra G.I. Joe bag, and then the legal and gobbledygook again. So we're going to put him over there. Look at this. There. So we have first thing, and it's huge, is this riot shield. And there's a lot of really cool detail on this riot shield. There's a couple of different chevrons where he's gotten several cobras and they've been crossed out, so he's kind of like keeping track of his um like a war chest kind of thing where you cross off all the cobras that you've gotten. And then there's a little bit of light and some some sort of like padding or something on there. There's some lighting and some padding on it. There's a lot of cool details. Then there's also some details on the interior. There's some like different layering in there, and there's a gripping thing for his arm and some detail over there. Um, it looks like a riot shield to me. The only thing that would have been better is if it was maybe see-through, like a plastic clear see-through riot shield. Maybe it would have been better, but it's fine the way it is, I guess. So then we have, let's see, we have his hat. So we have his hat for like the vintage version. Can I show Godzilla? I showed Godzilla yesterday. Godzilla is up there, Clement, if you can see it. Godzilla's up there. See Godzilla? Right up there in the corner? There you see it? That's Godzilla. That's the only one that I have in this room. That's the only Godzilla. So then he's got his hat, and it's got the blue and camouflage on there. Yeah. You're welcome. So he's got his hat, like the vintage one. Yeah. And then let's see what else. So he's got a lot of stuff here. Let's I'm gonna just put it over here and we'll go through it one by one what he's got. Clean off my table here. So he's got a billy club that's like one of those police billy clubs that you can like discipline unruly people. So I'm guessing that billy club must go on one of these secondaries somewhere. I'm not entirely certain where that'll go, but it's got to go on here someplace. I don't think it would go down there. I'm guessing he's going to hold the billy club because that seems like something that he would need to do. But we'll see if we can put it in his hand there. So we put the billy club in that hand for now because I want to get all the gear on him and see how all this gear goes in. Then we have this weird looking like lockpick. It looks like a lockpick type of thing. I'm not sure. Michael Gene Fleming, what do you think this thing is? It's like a lockpick type of thing. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm going to put that on his leg. It's like when you put in your car, you try to open the window. It's like a little thing like that. One of those window picks, Michael Gene Fleming. When am I going to open my Godzilla? I've already opened that Godzilla and put it back in the box. It's up there to protect it from dust and stuff like that. So I have opened that Godzilla already. It is open. I opened it many years ago when I got it. So I'm going to put that in this leg, down here in this leg sheath here, because it kind of fits there. There. And then he has a knife. I'm going to it's a little wibbly. They still haven't fixed the wibbly accessories yet. It's still a little wibbly. I'm going to put that up there in the that there. And then he's got two guns, and they're like little machine guns. And he has a little bitty uh, weapons cartridge there. So I'm gonna see where that, if any of these, yeah, this one can take a weapons cartridge in it. So I'm gonna put this one in there, and then I'm gonna put these. I'm gonna have him holding one of these. I'm gonna have him have one in his hand. I'm gonna put this one in his hand there, his right hand. I have the billy club in his left hand. So there. So I have that one in that hand there. You assume it's a close combat weapon, but you're not really sure. All right. Thank you, Michael Gene Fleming. So then we have his other machine gun. We have two machine guns. They're identical to each other. There's a little bitty detail on them as you look at it, but not much, not a lot of detail, just a little detail. So we're going to stick that one in one of the holsters there on his right leg. And then I'm going to try to get his shield on him, on his, what was that just came off? Something just came up. Oh, we have another cartridge. I found another cartridge, weapons cartridge. So that one I'm going to put into this weapon that I put in there. All right, so that's in there. And I'm going to try to put this on this arm. There's two different ways you can put this. You can have him holding it, or you can have him with the gripper part. So I'm going to use the gripper part. I'm going to try to get it on one of these arms so he can hold it, because I have the billy club and the other part in there. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be something I'm going to be able to do. I'm going to try, though. I'm going to try to get that shield on there. Yeah, there you go. I got the shield on there. Kind of. So it's a little bit weird because I have him holding that billy club there. I may put the billy club somewhere else. I'm not sure. What do you think? You think we should put this where can you see it open? I'm not going to be opening that, Clement, because I didn't make a video of that opening that, because I got it years ago. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Well, I'll maybe one of these days I'll take it out. I'll just stick it over here, and then you can look at it when I open it. But it won't be today. It'll be down the road. I'll take it out of the box and I'll put it over there. So when we do another video in the future, you can look at it. All right. That's the best I can do for you on that one, okay, Clement? Michael Gene Fleming, what do you think about this? Do you think I should take this billy club out and then have him holding that shield? Or do you think I should use the gripper and try to keep it that way? Because I think I was holding it wrong anyways. I think I had it in the wrong way. Let me see. I'm going to try to change this. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to put the gripper there, and then I'm going to turn his arm that way and turn his arm like that. Yeah. What do you think about that, Michael Gene Fleming? It seems a little weird to me. I don't know, because it looks like it needs to be like higher. There, like that. Does that look right? Does that look like That's accurate to you, Michael Gene Fleming? And then I have to find a spot for his billy club. I may put his billy club in the other holster, the gun holster that's over here. Yeah, there, that fits in there. The holster holds the billy club like that. So there, now I have all his gear on him, and he looks like he's ready for SWAT. He doesn't have a backpack. This one didn't come with a backpack. That's one of the odd things about a lot of these vintage, the classified. They don't come with backpacks. But I guess they couldn't cost a backpack and a riot shield for him. Uh, that looks good. I think so too. I think it looks good. So I think we are good on Shockwave now. Um, but I think that's a good figure. I think they did a good overall figure. I would have liked to have had a backpack, and then I'm gonna have to fiddle around with the thigh articulation. So his articulation is basically the same as most figures. He's got the double butterflied shoulders. He's got the head rocker. He's got the chest ab crunch. He's got the leg and our leg and crotch articulation. Double pin elbows, double pin knees, the foot rockers, the foot ankle articulation, the wrist articulation. He does not have the secondary wrist articulation. He doesn't have that turning wrist articulation. So he's shy on a couple of those. You like the Shockwave? He looks really cool. Okay, Clement. Thank you. So yeah, so those are all the articulation points. Overall, I think he's a very well balanced figure, with the exception of the missing backpack. I think all the accessories are really good for this character. I think the deco hits and the little hints of the yellow and different stuff really works well with him. Um, I think he's a very good inspired version from the vintage figure, very close. So the funny thing is, we're going to get two more Shockwaves coming not that far apart from this one. Michael G. Fleming. There are several classified figures that are definitely the worst for not having backpacks, but I never saw Shockwave as needing one. Seems like it would just get in the way for him. Maybe, but I know a lot of police officers and stuff, they use backpacks for their gas, tear gas, and different other safety things, and maybe medical stuff. When you're in an urban setting like that, it's good to have that type of stuff. But I don't know. I'm not a police officer. I was in the police academy many years ago, and we did have gear packs that we would carry with us for emergencies and stuff like that. But uh, you know, it all depends on how they cost this stuff out and classify it in the Hasbro team. You know, uh, you didn't know that I was in the police academy? Yeah, that's something I don't talk about that much because it was a very difficult time at the point when I was in the police academy. I never became a policeman, obviously. uh, but I was in the police academy for like 6 months. So there you go. Thank you very much. So our next figure is another dreadnought. Uh, Actually, it isn't the dreadnought. It's a vintage package figure. Actually, we're doing another vintage package figure next, and it is a reuse of a figure that we got not too long ago. So it's going to be one of those figures that it's going to be unique because um, we needed it because the first one sold out so quickly. It was an exclusive, the first version of this, and now we're going to get another one in vintage package. So that is our next figure, and that'll give you a little bit idea on that. So I'm still working on that other episode with some new things that I got that came in. I've got 3 or 4 new things that came in that I want to talk about. So we'll do a video about those things. And then we're going to be doing that comparison, classified to vintage vehicle comparison episode. It'll probably be this weekend. So we'll be doing that. Keep an eye out for both of those. And then keep an eye out for Toy Talk Live. It'll be Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock, where we talk about all different types of toy concepts, G.I. Joe, the toy industry, our own projects that we're doing as well on that, as in that series as well. So with my co-hosts Terry Ruin and Dan Thompson. So thank you for everybody in the chat today. I appreciate this. Shockwave is a really cool character. I'm glad that they're getting into the later 80s. We finally are getting deeper into this line and getting some more of those later 80s and 90s characters. So we're going to be getting into a bunch of really cool, fun 90s stuff. And I know Michael Gene Fleming is probably very happy about that. Am I correct about that, Michael Gene Fleming? Are you happy about more of the later 80s and 90s stuff that's going to be coming down the line? Because there's some real fun stuff coming. We're only up to 105, and we're almost up to 200 actually in classified. So we got a long way to go before we get to those. 90s, yay! Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in the 90s. There really is. I agree with you there. Thank you, Clement. I appreciate it. So this is another new character, new Joe character. So thanks everybody in the chat. Thanks everybody for watching after the fact, and the replay crew. I appreciate it. So we're gonna get this one over with, and we're gonna say, yo, Joe. See you in the next one.